Today's June, I think 26th.
Yes.
And it's Sunday. I'm with Victoria. We're at the top of Mount Algonquin. I got, and actually, we got Clan Ross. Here we go, Clan Ross. There's Colden in the background, Lake Colden, Mount Marcy, all the great peaks here. Right on the very top of Algonquin. Very windy today. We're going to be going all the way to Iroquois, which is all the way in the distance, right about there. You can see it. That's Iroquois. Oh, the wind died down. That's nice. Alright, so here we are. I'm on my way right now down Algonquin, going toward Iroquois Peak, which is a peak in the distance there. Off to the side, you can see, is a very narrow pass called an Indian Pass. Got a number of cairns here. It's pretty much all Alpine zone. And like I say, the wind's pretty stiff, but at this elevation it's not quite as bad as it was at the summit. Just a little bit about the Adirondack Mountains in general. I've always been a little curious about the geology of it, and so I did a little bit of research, and I found out that the rocks that we're on right now, that we're walking on, they're basically metamorphic rocks. They were laid down about 1.3 million years ago, which means that's old. Now that's by no means the oldest rocks on the planet, but this puts them in kind of like a special category, over 1 billion years. The sediment was eventually covered by more sediment to about 10 miles of depth, which is a huge amount of sediment. That is enough sediment so that the pressures and the temperatures actually changed what was sedimentary rocks and turned it into more of a metamorphic, or I tend to think of it as a granite, although technically it might be either a schist or a gneiss, and I forget which is which. One has bands, and I have noticed banding on this, the other does not. So I'll do a little bit of research and put that in the title here on exactly what type of rock this is. I think it's called Anorthosite. It's all part of the Canadian Shield. The Adirondack Mountains were formed separately from other nearby mountain ranges. The Appalachians, for example, were caused by continental movement that actually folded up the surface of the earth and formed mountains. Other, like the Berkshires and the Catskills, are all formed separately. But this was at one time, like I say, 10 miles underground. And what happened is, as the continents moved, they actually went over a hot spot in the core, deep in the core, which actually pushed this region of the Canadian Shield up to higher elevation, high enough elevation so that the sedimentary rocks, which are still toward the surface, actually wore away. And what's left is what we're on right now, which is a much harder rock than a typical sandstone or sedimentary. And like I said, this is basically the granite basement, or the gneiss, or the schist. I'll figure that out. I think it's called Anorthosite, which is particular to the Adirondacks and the Canadian Shield. This is kind of like the southern reach of the Canadian Shield. The Canadian Shield, of course, goes about 1,000 miles way up north, and this is just part of it that we're on right now. They got pushed up millions of years ago. So that's what I know, and we'll see other hikers up here. I don't know if the camera picks it up. Again, just an awesome day here for hiking in the Adirondack Mountains. All right, good morning. So here we are on Iroquois Peak, Victoria and I'm actually showing you Algonquin Peak right now. And like I said, this is actually Iroquois that we're on. And there's a cairn on the top, and you can see Mount Colden, you can see Marcy, Skylight Gray, the whole Great Range is right here. And it's a little breezy, but just a little bit of a background here. Like I said, the word Iroquois is actually a French term that was used to refer to the native tribes that were living in central New York at the time. It's not what the Indians ever referred to them as themselves. Instead, they preferred the term Haudenois. And they had like 5 nations, and it was actually one of the most organized tribes at the time. The other, Algonquin, is not necessarily a tribe. It's more of a group of languages. And the Algonquin Indians collectively span a huge area along the Atlantic coast, all the way up into Canada, and across all the way, I think, into Michigan and Minnesota. So they span a huge area, and the Iroquois are actually situated in between them. And so that's why we have, in between Mount Algonquin and Mount Iroquois, there's Boundary Peak, which is just a short peak. Doesn't count as a 46er because it's a little bit too close to Iroquois. But anyhow, so we have, like I say, Algonquin, Boundary, and Iroquois right here all together. And again, it's just a great day. So just doing a little scan here. We got like a nice cairn and a lot of rocks. We're in the Alpine zone. So anyhow, it's just thought I'd share a little bit what we got here. All right. So I'm still here on the trail between Iroquois and Boundary, and just taking a look at Colden. Thought I'd just do a little bit of narration. We're out of the strong winds. We're just below the summit. So just gonna see some of the rocks that we got. Victoria's just up ahead of me, picking her way carefully. And this isn't considered bushwhacking, but we are looking at some very narrow trails. And yeah, here we go. Just see how you can see how narrow some of these trails are, and muddy too. But we're getting through. Oops, yeah, see my backpack. Occasionally I'm catching on some of the roots and the twigs that are sticking out here. But it's quite the day. Like I said, we've got Marcy or Algonquin there in the background. This is the real tricky spot here. This is the spot that like you went this way. Yeah, we went the other way around, the far way, less steep. We've got some cairns that people made. I do kind of wonder if people can hear those birds in the background. They just keep going and going.
It's okay. I don't hear birds and wind.
The wind, yeah. I wish I knew what type of bird that was. Oh, that's a big drop off. Yeah. Alright, so okay. Wow. Kind of jumped holding the cam. Good thing I didn't fall. You can see some of the rocks, so they're pretty impressive, like granite or schist maybe. All right, so enough of my little video. So we're just taking a little breather here, and now going up Algonquin for the second time, looking over at Boundary, and if you can just barely see a couple hikers on the top of Boundary, and I think there's maybe one or two up on the top of Iroquois in the far distance. Victoria tells me she thinks that peak off to the right with a long white slide is a part of the Santanonis. And maybe Kuchakraga is over to a little bit further right. Yeah, so we're just kind of catching our breath. A couple clouds blowing by right now. Not a whole lot of shade otherwise, because we're way out in the open, as you can see. A lot of Karens. Hey. Oh, look, a bird, a raven. Yeah, right up there. It's just barely moving. Oh, it just landed. Alright, so here's just another slow motion view from the top of Mount Algonquin, looking at the Great Range, including Mount Marcy and Colvin and Skylight, Gray, and a bunch of other great mountains.
Pretty sure Cliff and Redfield are somewhere over there.
Cliff and Redfield are somewhere, yeah. Of course, we just this is the peak. The wind has died down just a little bit, still quite breezy, but there you can see in the distance the Boundary and Iroquois that we just finished. We got some cairns up here. I chatted with the peak steward. He basically said this is granite, and he kind of pointed out there actually is a little limestone up here in the Adirondacks, which is unusual. And he said it's actually at wall face, which is just over here. You can see there's the Stewart, but wall face is at Cliff Lake Mountain over there. And he said because it is limestone, there's actually a different type of plants that grow on it than they do in the rest of the Adirondacks. So he said the White Mountains actually have limestone, which is one reason why they're white. All right. Yep. Okay, so we're just doing the, again, coming down off of Algonquin, heading north to basically back to Heart Lake. So we're just on still in the Alpine zone, just coming down the kind of nice trail here with a lot of cairns. We got Heart Lake down there at the very bottom. That's where we're going. And off to the right is Wright Peak, which is one of the 46ers itself, because it's over 4,000 feet. So that just shows you how high up we are, because we're over 5,100 feet, and that's Mount Algonquin. Not the highest, it's the second highest actually. Marcy is about 200 feet higher. Marcy is just over a mile, while Algonquin's just under. But it's plenty steep, huge alpine zone. It's really a great hike here. So I guess I'm just gonna record a little bit of the hike down until we get real technical here. Here's one of the cairns. These are actually somewhat controversial. Some people like them, and they're great markers when it's really cloudy or foggy. Other people say, hey, that's not natural, it's a man-made thing, so they don't, leaving no trace. So, and so the cairns are here. I'm kind of glad to see them. They don't really bother me. I don't think they really bother anyone all that much, but they're, like I say, they're around. They do take up some of the stray rocks, so I think what they do is they basically people clear the trails and create those with them. You can see there's a lot of boulders all over the place on these trails, so there's no shortage of rocks really. And there's lots of different ways to do trails. I'm kind of going off on the edge, and it's supposed to stay off the Alpine. The peak steward was very good about reminding us to do that. See, it's extremely fragile vegetation. It's not like grass. It's special type of, Victoria's kind of squeezing over. Gotta go over here. This is the summer, so we do have some very special little alpine flowers with extra small bees that are tending to them. There's some regular sized bees too, and we noticed a couple of them.
Yeah.
It's a long ways.
I noticed a couple of them.
Yeah, there's not many flowers up here. Another cairn. The other thing we have, of course, we have these yellow markers, just paint that people put on. That's kind of helpful too, because it's easy, since it's such a open area here. It's very easy to get off the trail. There's our
Or
one
go
of
up somewhere that's really harder.
yeah, that's a lot harder, a big cliff or something. But there's a little yellow marker. Got a cloud coming. Yeah, we're underneath a cloud right now, so a little bit of extra shade. This is again the end of June. That sun is really bright, so try not to get burned with hats. And I got a SPF jacket on. Or not jacket, SPF shirt, I should say. There's another cairn. Somebody balanced it on a rock. You can see wall face in the distance. That's where the peak steward told me that's actually limestone, which is one of the few spots in the Adirondacks with limestone.
Isn't not in your wall face? So wouldn't that make that paint not?
Oh, in the background? That's possible. I think right in front of us is Gneiss, right? That's one of them. And Street and Gneiss, they're kind of next to each other.
Is Gneiss not feet over 4,000 feet?
Oh, it's not?
No.
Oh. Is Street over 4,000?
Yes.
Oh, okay. You have to do Gneiss to get to Street? Is that how it works?
There's like an intersection, like it's a Y.
Oh,
It's like one way you go street
okay.
and one way you go to
This is a pretty big step here that Victoria's going down. Not sure if people can see how she just threw her poles.
Yep.
I guess I'll
Probably
probably
should have
turn-
gone down.
I'm gonna turn my camera off. This is not the type of
I should have gone down backwards.